Thank you for being here early to enjoy the amazing talent of the Arizona Wildflowers. We're going to begin this evening with the singing of our national anthem. So as our elected officials make their way to the front for the seats reserved for them here on the front, I'm going to ask all of you to stand with me. And these ladies are going to sing the national anthem for us.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly they held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Amen. Would you remain standing with me if you'll bow your heads and hearts? We want to continue our time with the word of prayer. Father in heaven, thank you for this day that you've given to us. Father, as we gather in this place this evening, we're again so grateful for the freedom we have together to assembly. Father, I'm so grateful tonight for those who have gone before us, those men and women who wore the uniform to protect these freedoms that we cherish. Father, we pray tonight for all of our military around the world stationed here. Watch over them, protect them. Father, we thank you for this season that you've entrusted to us. Father, I pray for our citizens across this great land that you would steady our people, that as change comes and as we adjust to being treated fairly around the world, that we would be a people of resolve, that we wouldn't crumble, we wouldn't cave for filthy lucre, for gain only. But Father, we would stand for this great nation. Father, make us a more grateful people, grateful for the sacrifices made before us, that today we might continue to live freely, to work freely, to worship freely. Father, thank you for this opportunity this evening to hear from these candidates. As always, I pray that what we say and do in this place would bring you honor and glory this evening. And I pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. You may be seated. As you do, let's give another hand for the Arizona Wildflowers. On your way out this evening, there's a table with CDs and merchandise. If you don't know the Arizona Wildflowers, after the meeting, you can Google search them. We are so proud of them, grateful for their family, grateful for the values that they exemplify in their music and in their lives. We're glad you're here tonight. I'm trying to get my ducks in a row. Teresa's going to ramrod this. Where's Teresa? Teresa's still talking to Boots. Teresa, are you going to get one of these microphones?
I am going to get one of these microphones.
Obviously, Teresa Martinez is one of our own. We're happy to claim her, even though when she came to us, we didn't realize. I realized she was, I'm in the House of Representatives, Pastor. And then she drops the big bomb on me that she is our majority whip. She really wants to talk about being baptized in the horse trough. But you do what you want. You're ramrod this show. Do you want to introduce our other guest before our special guest?
I can.
We're going to knock it out. Thank you.
Got it?
I got it. All right. So we're going to go beauty first. And the beautiful, I love her. She's amazing. She calls me the pit bull. And she calls herself the piranha. Needless to say, we're both the beautiful Dana Lewis, our Pinal County recorder. And I know when Mark Lamb left, we were all sad because we all love Mark Lamb. Can we give Mark Lamb a big... And I can say that we did not think that we would love our new sheriff as much as we love Mark Lamb. But who doesn't love Ross Teeple? Oh my God! Love him and his beautiful wife. Please stand up, Corinne, please. Because in politics, look at, he's giving her a kiss. Because in politics, you need the support of your spouse, and that's very, very, very important. Speaking of spouses, I don't want to say Mr. Gina Swoboda, but I'm going to. Rob, please stand. He loves his wife so much, he handles the slings and arrows of being the AZ GOP chair. And then, Denise. So now we have the beautiful Denise Peterson, who has been wonderful, and doesn't she just make him better? Look at this, she's just beautiful. Now, I am going to go to something that I don't normally do, and I'm going to because it's extremely important that we point them out. Staff. Staff is very, very important. If you got lousy staff, then you got a lousy office. And if you got a great staff, you got a great office. And we have, yes, amen. And one of the things I'd like to point out, my dear, 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 dear friend, Brandon Gaylord he is the staff, he's the chief of staff. Stand up, Brandon. He is the staff for County Supervisor Stephen Miller, who we all love and adore. And then also staff today, and this particular staff gets no weekends, he gets no evenings, he works hard, gives out his cell number. He's an amazing man. My dear friend, David Romney, the staffer for Congressman Andy Beggs. And then a special thank you to Boots Hawks, who none of this would be... We would not be able to do this without Boots. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to invite them all to stand up. So the first person, I have something in common with all of them, believe it or not. What I have in common with our first one is we both love we all love Arizona. We all love our freedom, and we all conservative. So all three people here, I have that in common with. But this particular person, he is a Virgo, and I am a Virgo. He is, don't laugh. He is tenacious. I am tenacious. He is very much, I said no, let me explain it to you. And then when you disagree with him, he says, no, let me explain it to you, because when you see it my way, you will understand. He is patient, and you all know that I'm patient. The only difference between this Virgo and that Virgo is I'm a little bit louder. I'd love to introduce and ask to come up Mr. Warren Peterson, President Peterson from the Senate. Oh, show off. Have a seat right there. Thank you. I'm going to get the other ones up. So the next person I have in common is she had curly hair. I don't know why she straightens it. She is I don't think so, to your face. She is what did they say? And I love that spirit, that tenacity. And I love the fact that she fights so hard on every level. She is the hardest fighter for election integrity if ever there was. And I think she would make a perfect Secretary of State in the future. With that, the beautiful, my lady, Gina Swoboda. Now, this next gentleman, I had to think long and hard about what he and I had in common. He wears Crocs. I do not. He is a musician. I am not. He is a singer. I definitely am not. And I thought to myself, what on earth do I have in common with Andy Biggs? And then I remembered that he is a man of integrity, and we love the same person. Yes, I love Cindy because she's fantastic, but he loves Paul Gosar like no other. I saw him talk about Congressman Gosar at the property, and he was so sincere and so honest and truthful, and it moved me. And I was so honored that Congressman Gosar had such a true friend. And I realized that what we have in common is we love the same people. And he's got such a wonderful heart that he poured out when he talked about his friendship. And it was so earnest and so sincere. And I thought, you know what? The level of his truthfulness, of his honesty, and of his sincerity, that we have in common. The others too. And with that, I'd love to ask Congressman Andy Biggs to come up. And you can see his Crocs. So I believe that the Boots, please show them your Crocs, sir. And he's got the most comfortable shoes in the house. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and give a few minutes to each of them to say whatever it is that they need to say. I don't know if anybody has questions from the audience, but we're going to let them say what they need to say. We'll start off with Senate President Warren Peterson, who's running for the Attorney General. We're going to have Gina Swoboda, who has not declared anything, but wink, wink, Secretary of State. And then we have Congressman Andy Biggs, as you all know, is running for governor. And with that, Senator Peterson.
So only Andy Biggs can get away with wearing Crocs like that. The other day we were in Pinal County. We spoke at County Attorney Brad Miller's open house. Andy and I did. And I didn't wear sunscreen. But Andy did. So the next day we were together, and Andy's face looked like it looks now, but my face looked like the color of Boots' shirt. But thank you so much for having us. What an honor it is to be here with all of you guys tonight. Thank you, Pastor, for opening the door for us, for having us in the church. You know, it says in the scriptures, where there is the Spirit of God, there is the Spirit of freedom. So thank you for making freedom possible. You know, if we don't have people of faith, you can't have freedom. So thank you so much for what you're doing. I want to give, you know, Teresa did an amazing job giving shout-outs, but I have to do it again.
Otherwise, you'll be in trouble.
Well, we're so lucky. Sheriff Tiefels is an absolute rock star. You guys are so lucky. I don't know a better sheriff in the state. I really don't. So you guys absolutely scored. And then Dana, she's still here. Here's Dana. Yeah. We know that our elections are in good hands here in Pinal County with Dana at the helm. She is the only recorder, I think, that does it all, right? That has like the full scope. All of the other recorders, it's divided up. She literally has ownership of the whole thing, and that is a very, very good thing. So, and of course, Representative Martinez. She's incredible. She is incredible. You know, Arizona was kind of in rough shape there for a while, weren't we? We were losing every single office. Everything was going blue. The media was saying we're going to lose the legislature. And we were like that close from turning into California. All that was left was the legislature. And it's crazy to me that we had a couple of people, it's only a couple of people, thank goodness, trying to tear down the Republican Party, trying to tear down our legislature. It's bizarre to me. All we had left was the legislature. So what do we want to do for Republicans? Do we go after all the Democrats that are ruining everything? Or should we go beat up the legislature? So people are beating up the legislature. I hope nobody is a part of that, because Representative Martinez and your Arizona legislature were the red wall that prevented Arizona from turning into California. And in fact, your legislature is the one who sets all the policies. I don't know if you guys know this. I talked to somebody here tonight that had moved here from California. We actually have 200 people move to Arizona every single day. And 140 of those people are from California. Every single day. But if you ask them, I've worked in real estate a lot, law and real estate, and I like to ask them, why did you move to Arizona? What do they tell you? They say, because it's safe. Low taxes. I can actually run my business here. Okay? Great educational opportunities. Less regulation. So what are they really saying? What they're really saying is, my legislature was horrible, and this legislature is good. Whether they know it or not, it's policy. They're moving their feet because of policy. Now, the media doesn't get things very right very often, does it? But they did get something right. They said that our current legislature is the most conservative legislature in the history of Arizona. Our legislature, I can't possibly go through all the policies, but I'll tell you, we have the lowest flat income tax in the country because of our legislature. I authored a bill a few years ago, said no sex changes on minors. That was my bill. I'm the author of the Arizona ICE Act. That will be going to the governor's desk next week, which will make sure that we don't block the Trump administration as he removes the most dangerous criminal illegal aliens from the streets. We are one of the top states in protecting the Second Amendment. How many of you guys would like to have your election results night of the election? So, I met with Florida Secretary of State. And Dana helped me a lot on this. She came down and testified on my bill. I authored a bill to pretty much mirror the main things that Florida's doing to make sure you get election results night of. The speaker, kudos to the speaker to working with me. We worked together, and we were able to put that bill on her desk. It was one of the first bills that went onto her desk. She vetoed it. We know that Governor Biggs will sign it in the future. But in the meantime, we will be sending that to the ballot so that voters can have an opportunity to decide on that issue. Something we did, this was kind of, people thought this would be impossible, but it's kudos to a very conservative legislature, because we couldn't even do this when we controlled all three branches, because we had some legislators that weren't as conservative. But thanks to our current conservative legislature, even in spite of Hobbs, we eliminated the tenant-paid rental tax. So nobody has to pay that anymore. How many of you guys would like to have an attorney general that defends the Constitution? How would you like to have an attorney general that doesn't fight DOJ and has 19 lawsuits against the Trump administration? How would you like an attorney general who actually focuses on fighting crime instead of harassing school choice? How would you like an attorney general that actually look into corruption? So, I feel exactly the same way as you do. That's why I filed to run for attorney general in the state of Arizona. And we've got some really great news on that front. About a little over a month ago, there was a poll done head-to-head, me versus Mays. And at that time, Congressman Biggs was not in the picture. It was a couple months ago, I think a month and a half ago. And I was beating Chris Mays already in a head-to-head poll. This was independent. I had nothing to do with it. I was like, oh, okay, well, that's good. Today, another independent poll came out. I wasn't aware of it till I saw it today. It was for the primary, and it shows that I am the front runner to win the primary as well. And so, it's really important. I mean, these top 3 key races, we have to win these top 3 key races. Yes, we've been able to play defense in the legislature, but you really need the right people. They can do so much damage. There's a saying, possession is 9/10 of the law. There's so much they can do with that possession. And I will tell you this, I've known Congressman Biggs for a very long time. We actually were seatmates in the legislature. He has never lost an election. We need somebody who's never lost an election. I have never lost an election. We have a very good law in Arizona. It allows the Senate president to defend laws in the event that your current AG is not defending the laws. So I am currently in over 51 lawsuits because AG Mays will not do her job. I'll tell you about 3 of them. I can't tell you about all 51, but I'll tell you about 3 of them. First one, I'm the lead defendant in protecting girls from boys playing in women's sports. That is sitting at the Supreme Court. It is at the U.S. Supreme Court right now. And because of that, President Trump invited me to the EO signing. What's it been, 3 weeks? About a month ago, he invited me to the EO. I got to be at the EO signing with President's executive order signing, with President Trump, where he signed that he was not going to allow federal funds for any school or anybody that allowed girls in sports. I sat in deposition all day because I'm defending the law that says only citizens can vote in our elections. I also, one of the other lawsuits that we're in was, I don't know if you all heard about the Biden land grab where he took 1 million acres in Arizona. This is not about a historical monument. This was about shutting down mining in Arizona. So the good news is, it turns out we just need a new president. And we have that. And Congressman Biggs and I have had several meetings over the last month with the Trump administration. One of those meetings was to talk about this issue with the Department of Justice, Pam Bondi's office. And I feel really good about us getting that reversed so we can start up our mining again here in Arizona. It's a national security threat. If we don't get our uranium from here, we're going to get our uranium from Russia. And it's dirty uranium. We actually mine things cleanly, so it's a very good thing. I can't fail to mention our incredible GOP chairman. Isn't she amazing, Gina Swoboda? So this last election cycle, part of me being the Senate president, and the thing I actually dreaded the most about becoming the Senate president was I was in charge of holding the legislature. And that means I'm in charge of the Victory Fund. And it means I had to do the thing I hate to do the most. You know what that is? Raise money, okay? It's the worst, all right? The most we had ever raised, and we were facing the worst, most dire situation because everyone's saying we're going to lose the legislature. The most the Victory Fund had ever raised was $1.5 million. So I was just hoping and praying, please let me raise $1.5 million. Well, we raised $5 million. People really stepped up. And as part of that, there were like 4 of us. There were 4, the Victory Fund, the GOP. Now, Gina, she was, working the whole state. I was just focused on the legislature, but we worked with Gina. We worked with the state party. We worked with a few PACs. And everybody, I hadn't been in this position before, so I didn't know what it was like, but everybody's like, this is the best we've ever collaborated in. This is the best we've ever worked together. This is everything. We're making sure money is not wasted. We're coordinating our messages. Money's not just getting burnt on consultants. We're producing product. We're getting the message out. It was really, really good. So if we can do that again, we're going to win everything top to bottom in 2026. So I will. Gina's a fantastic person. She hasn't announced for Secretary of State, but I think a lot of people are hoping she will, because she would do a fantastic job. So I will just close with this. I beat Hobbs in court when she broke the law. I beat Fontes in court when he broke the law. And I beat Mays in court, and she had to pay us $40,000 in attorney's fees. So, with your help, I will win for AG. Congressman Biggs will win for governor, and hopefully this lady right here will win for Secretary of State. Thank you all so much. God bless all of you.
I think we're going to try to ask a few questions. And really quick, I want to introduce my little brother, Mr. Chris Lopez, who's sneaking in. Oh, he's talking smack. I'm not sure what he is, but I'm sure it's try. So thank you, Chris, for coming. Come up, sit next to Ross. Next, we have the beautiful Gina Swoboda. Gina, why don't you tell us what's going on with the AZGOP?
Thank you, my lady. Thank you, everybody, so much. It's always wonderful to be in Pinal. I tell you when I come, I bring Rob down here because I wanted to move down here. I keep missing my window. Your prices go like this, and I bring them at the wrong time, and then they start to go like this, and then I run, and I'm waiting. But President Trump is bringing down the 10-year note. You see that? Yeah. So then the mortgage rates can come down, right? You could rescue me from Maricopa. Please. It looked so nice coming from Queens. And then I saw Pinal. I was like, this is where I belong. It's an honor to be with you and my lady, the amazing Teresa Martinez. I'm very blessed. I've known Teresa a long time. We worked together at the Secretary of State's office with the amazing David Romney, and I bother him about it, but I love working for him and with him, and it was one of the best experiences of my life, and I thank you every day for what you do. And Dana, who is tremendous and whom Pinal is blessed to have, and without whom you wouldn't have had the record turnout that you had and delivered all the votes I needed to secure the presidency for Donald J. Trump. Thank you. Thank Dana Lewis. So, you know I like to nerd out about the election stuff. Is that what you want? Okay. You got it. Someday you're going to tell me, Gina, let's talk about, sports or something. And when that happens, I'm going to be helpless. But until then, I'm here for you. So we just filed at AZGOP a 90-day notice against Secretary Adrian Fontes. Boo. Thank you. That's what I'm looking for. Because he's not doing list maintenance, right? So when people are concerned about the state of our elections, where I choose to focus is the voter rolls, okay? Because that's where it starts and that's where it ends. You have to have a registration to cast a ballot, and then at the end you get a credit in your record when you vote. And again, your recorder is amazing. She does a fantastic job. But the secretary is supposed to establish the principles, okay, in his elections procedures manual, which has the force of law, right, which I sue over, like when the sun comes up and I'm like, that's a bad footnote, right? Footnote Fontes, that's what we got to call him. And the legislature backs us up, right? They took some of the issues in that last manual. I took some as the party. AFPI Legal took a few. And we, by and large, won. Legislature won on a lot of their issues. I just threw the whole manual out of court in the appeals court. So give a shout out to your appeals court that just threw out the entire 23 manual as unlawful. And what compelling argument did I make? It was a nerdly argument. Of course it was. I'm a nerd. I said, you didn't follow the Administrative Procedures Act. Shame on you, Adrian Fontes. He didn't give the public 30 days, right? He's got to give you time so you can tell him what's wrong, so he can ignore you, and then the legislature and hopefully a governor can say, this is a bad manual. No, Adrian, no. But he didn't do that, so we won on that. what else are we going to do on the voter list maintenance issue? Well, it's the public that has oversight of the voter rolls, okay? That's set by Congress in the National Voter Registration Act. Hello, Miss Mary. She knows. She's always fighting to clean the rolls. So what does it mean for you to have access, for you to have oversight? Well, you need to see it, right? There's a statute, 16-168F. Sentence 2 bothers me. I don't like sentence 2. It prohibits us from exchanging the information over the internet. It prohibits us from posting it online. It's a public record. That statute is preempted by the NVRA, right? 10th Amendment, everybody. The federal government decided to get involved, and I wish they hadn't, but as long as it's there and until Congress can repeal it or fix it or pass the SAVE Act, try to do some things for us, we have the right under 8I in the NVRA to have oversight to see the rolls. So I just sent the secretary a notice, and I am going to sue him in 90 days if he doesn't concede the fact that that is unconstitutional because it's preempted by the NVRA. And once I do that, I'm going to publish the voter rolls and I'm going to send them to you. And everyone who wants them can get them from me periodically online. Because when Dana does all this work to keep the list clean, and you know there's this single family house on my block and I have 137 people registered there, and that's highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. I mean, it's possible. It's plausible, but it's highly unlikely, right? So you need to look at the list so you can go, oh my goodness, and then you can notify your amazing team at the Pinal County Recorder, and they can send a notice out. And then they can start that process of getting those people off the rolls. Because we need to get them into an inactive, starting with an I status. Otherwise, if they're on the mail ballot list, the mail ballots are going to go out. And there's not a person in here that hasn't talked to someone that got multiple ballots at their house for people who aren't there. So we have a duty, and I'm going to help empower us to execute that duty that Congress gave to us so that we can keep the rolls clean, so that we can have confidence that we have to have, because that's the only way that we're going to save the constitutional republic. Yes? So a word about the proof of citizenship. Dana winked at me when the president spoke about that. We were like, yeah. So Arizona is in the forefront of this fight, and we have been in the forefront of this fight, okay? Arizona was the first state in the country of 2. Wyoming caught up. Secretary Chuck Gray is a very nice guy, and I helped him draft his bill. They just passed proof of citizenship, but we did it with Prop 200. Remember Prop 200? Right, okay. So we said, if you want to register to vote in the state of Arizona, you must provide documented proof of citizenship, right? Right. And then, predictably, we got sued by 1 million groups. And we went all the way to SCOTUS. And here's what Justice Scalia said. He said, Arizona, you are preempted by HAVA, which is another act that was passed by Congress. And when Congress passed that's Help America Vote Act, they created the Elections Assistance Commission. And I know the chief commissioner, there's 2 Republicans, there's 2 Democrats, they get appointed, they're good people, okay? But never create an unelected bureaucracy. Never, ever, 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 ever. Because once you do that, that's why we have DOJ now. They're running the country. So the EAC under HAVA created the National Voter Registration Form. So on the National Voter Registration Form, what is the requirement for citizenship? It's a checkbox with an attestation. I am a citizen. No proof, nothing, okay? So Justice Scalia, God rest his soul, said, here's the deal, Arizona. On your state voter registration form, if someone sends it in, you can say, you must show me proof of citizenship or not register you at all. But if they send in the federal form, you're going to have to register them, but you will only have to register them for federal contests. And that's how we got Fed-only voters. Okay, this is how this happened to us. So for 21 years, Justice Scalia said the relief that you were seeking, what you need to do is go to the EAC and say, guys, add a footnote. It's not hard. Talk to Fontes. He knows how to do it. add a footnote that says, in Arizona, you must attach documented proof of citizenship. And the EAC, again, 2-2, right, said no. Years go by. We get a friendly commissioner named Newby. I always think of that because I'm a newbie. Newby. And he said, okay, we're going to put the footnote on. And then the rest of the EAC sued their own chair to stop him from putting the footnote on. And then that case was working its way up, and we would have gotten a SCOTUS, and I think we would have won. But then a terrible, no good, very bad thing happened, and it's called a consent decree. Boo. No member of the executive branch should be able to abrogate what your legislative branch put in place. Okay, none. Full stop, stop. But a secretary of state here in Arizona signed a consent decree and agreed to put the dopey checkbox on our state form. So what do you think happened next with the number of federal-only voters in the state of Arizona? Okay? Right. So that's where we were. And then we said, what are we going to do? How are we going to get back up there? We've got to get back up there to SCOTUS, right? So we passed HB 2492. And clapping, I love it. HB 2492 says, if you want to vote for president, or if you want to vote by mail, you have to use the state form to register. You have to provide documented proof of citizenship. Yes, okay? And here's why we can do that. Because the method of selecting the electors, which is how we vote for president, right? We're not voting for DJT and JDV. We're voting for 11 people that are going to vote for them. And that saves this country. The founders are genius. That's chosen by the states. That's the electors clause of the Constitution. Now, how about the method in which we vote? That's the elections clause of the Constitution. That's also up to us. That's up to us. So we don't have to let you vote by mail. You have to show us that you're a citizen if you want to vote by mail under that bill, okay? And we're going to choose how we pick our electors. And if you want to vote for our electors for president of the United States, danged if you're not going to send in the form we want and give us the proof of citizenship we want. So we passed it, and then we immediately got sued. And we went to the Ninth Circus. You're probably familiar with it. If you've heard about it, it's a boo. It's getting better. It's getting better. I'd like to be in another circuit, maybe with Texas. I know, I think the congressman's talked about that in the past. But here's where it gets really messed up, as I say, politically. That's my Queen's talk, for bad political shenanigans are afoot. The Ninth Circuit, the judge, before we could get there, Judge Bolton held that decision. She only decided part of it, and she held the rest of it 45 days, 90 days, 120 days. She was slowing us down so we couldn't get to SCOTUS before this election. That's my opinion, okay? But she's not that busy. It's not that hard. You already had all the arguments. She's got clerks. They know how to type. Come on. So we tried to do an interlocutory appeal, which means let's just take the part she ruled on and go, and they said no, and Ninth Circus said no. So we get to the Ninth Circus. They have finally done what we all expected them to do, which is to say, you're out of luck, Arizona. Too bad. We think NVRA, what we talked about for list maintenance, magically preempts you from asking for proof of citizenship, which is just a ridiculous, specious argument. So now we're going to SCOTUS. The name of the case, if you want to track it, put it in Bing, is Mi Familia Vota 2, because Mi Familia Vota sues us a lot. Mi Familia Vota 2, and we're going to SCOTUS, and I believe they will rule in our favor. And while that's happening, our amazing compatriots in Congress have the SAVE Act. And the SAVE Act will also require proof of citizenship. I flew to Texas a week ago to help them. I helped them draft a bill, SB 16, so that they can demand documented proof of citizenship. Wyoming just passed it, okay? It's now passed out of the Senate in Texas. The more states that pass it, the sooner Congress acts to demonstrate the intent of the Congress, the intent of the states, is that only people who have proven citizenship may cast a ballot and vote in our sacred elections, which we have given up so much for. The faster we're going to win at SCOTUS. So that's where we are. Thank you, Booth. We're going to win, okay? We're going to get past this proxy voting shenanigan, and then they can put it on the floor. I'll let the congressman talk about it. None of us like proxies, do we? Not as PCs, not in Congress, nowhere, you know? You cannot use the power of attorney to vote for someone. Most people don't realize that. It's got to be you, just you. We only want you. We want Dreama to show up as Dreama with her ID, and we know it's her. So, you know, just in a brief word, right before our election, this cycle, I got a call from a staffer at the office of Adrian Fontes. Boo. And she said, Gina, and I said, yes. Because people call me a lot from there. You wouldn't believe the stuff going on. And I'm like, can I get you into court? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay. And then I call recorders, and I'm like, are you aware of what's going on? And Dana fixes things, right? So she said, I'm going to need you at 8 in the morning to have your lawyer with you because we're going to call you because there's a problem. And I've just been waiting the whole, like all election long, terrified. This is not the call you want from Adrian Fontes' office, you know. And it's literally like 35 days, I think, before the ballots go live. And so I'm like, okay, I have the lawyer and I'm ready and I'm sitting by the phone and I can hear in the background the secretary briefing the president and the speaker, okay, on what he's talking about. And they proceed to tell me that there are, first they said 98,000, then it became 218,000 voters. These people are registered, and the motor vehicle department inadvertently didn't flag them that they had never shown proof of citizenship. And they've been on the rolls and they've been voting this whole time, okay? So here's where it gets tricky now. So the majority of them are Republicans. And all of them have been in the state of Arizona since before October of 1996. Okay? So these are not the newcomers that got invited by, you know, the Biden and his incompetent buffoon border czar, Kamala. These are people that have been here. And the reason that this happened is before October of 1996 in Arizona, when you got a driver's license, you did not have to prove you were a citizen. Okay? So these people got a driver's license. And then before 2003 in Arizona, you did not have to provide proof of citizenship to vote. That was before Prop 200. So if you had a driver's license and then you registered to vote after 2003, a little flag should have gone off in motor vehicle but said get citizenship or make them federal only. Your recorders are very good at that, but it wasn't bing, 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 it wasn't happening. The reason it wasn't happening is if you changed your photo on your driver's license after you got it, if you moved, if you became an organ donor, if you went into your motor vehicle record and said, I want to be a poll worker, it reset the issue date on your license. And when it reset the issue date, it deactivated the flag. So it doesn't know anymore that you had your license in, you know, March of 95. It thinks you got your license in, you know, June of 2007 when you moved. And so all of these people have been getting a full ballot, have been voting since before October 96 or whenever they registered. They have no idea anything's wrong, okay? Now I have like 35 days to go before the election. So here's the question I ask myself as the chair. Do I trust the government? And I could stop right there. No, and so I sued. No. Do I trust the government to effectively communicate with what we thought was 98,000 and then became 218,000 people quickly enough for them to go and find their birth certificate, which, I don't know, could be in your lockbox, could be in your safety deposit box, who knows where it is. Then you might have to request it online, and then you have to wait for the government to get, like, there's no way that those people were gonna get a fair chance. And there's a thing in this country called due process, okay? And I'm not disenfranchising people who have lived here since prior to 96, who have always voted because of an error in the Department of Motor Vehicle. And so I filed an amicus brief, as did the legislature, and we said, please, Supreme Court of the state of Arizona, leave these people alone until after the election. And that's what we did. And it was the right thing to do, and I would do it again. And I will also tell you, I care about all those voters. I know I happen to be your chair, but every single one of those people deserve due process, and through no fault of their own, their rights would have been taken away from them to vote. And that's unacceptable. I don't care, right? It's unacceptable in this country. We believe in the Constitution, we believe in due process, and we believe in your right to vote and not disenfranchising people, okay? So when you hear people ranting and raving, just remember, it's important that you don't take the rights away from people, and that's not what we're about. We're trying to protect the rights of the people that are citizens that have every right to vote when we talk about citizenship, because every one of those voters gets diluted if someone who's not eligible is casting a ballot. And the inverse of that is true. You don't take the right away from someone who earns the right, who has the right, because you suspect something's wrong because of an idiotic IT error in the Department of Motor Vehicle. So those people got to vote, and we won, and we won, and we won, and we won. We won everything. Oh, very nearly everything. We defeated ranked choice voting. Yeah. They spent millions of dollars. I spoke to someone today, and I'm going to give you a little heads up, and they probably shouldn't have told me this. They forget that I'm the chair. I'm in my nerd hat. And they're like, oh, I shouldn't tell you this, you're the chair. And I'm like, oh, no, that's okay, tell me. They're going to come back now with top 2 voting. Yep. So they're going to do it again. Top 2 voting is jungle-style California. And we defeated it once, we'll defeat it again. So remember, next year, when I come back to you and say, vote no. But there was a group that filed a lawsuit with the state Supreme Court to get a list of the names of those 218,000 people, because they were very concerned that they're a bunch of non-citizens. I don't think they understood people who've been here, blah, blah, blah. The judge gave them a list and said, you have X amount of days to file a challenge to those voters. Do you know how many voters they challenged? 0. You know why? Because they're all citizens. Yeah, they couldn't find anybody. There was one person that Stephen Richer found that triggered the whole thing. But it's important, as passionate I am, as passionate as you are, we do things the right way. We make sure everybody's protected. We fight for our rights, and we fight for their rights. And it's just always an honor to serve you. I'm blessed beyond words to be in the chair. I have no idea what's going to happen to me next. I never know. The president may call me. He has a habit when he does that, and he asks me to do things. And I spoke to Congressman Biggs. I said he called me again to be in the chair. And the congressman's a very brave fighter for our rights. He said, you know, Gina, you should tell him you'll think about it. And I should, but he's right, and I appreciate it. But I say, yes, sir. So if he calls it, he's like, could Gina come here and do this, or Gina go here, and I'm going to go, yes, sir. And that's what I do. And I'm honored every time he asks me. I'm honored to be with you. It's a blessing to serve you. Thank you for all you do. I can't do that.
And so the reason he goes last is because he's the headliner. So without any further ado, Congressman Andy Biggs, who is running for governor of the state of Arizona.
Thanks, Teresa. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Bob. Thank you. Thank you. It's a real distinct honor to be with you this evening. Cindy wanted me, she's my wife, she wanted me to convey her regrets that she couldn't be here. She's actually down in Tucson taking care of one of our grandbabies, which is that's pretty awesome, actually. But Teresa, thanks. Chris, good to see you. Thanks. And Dana, good to see you. And then it's great to see you, but I'm going to talk just briefly about this whole thing. We're in the church tonight. And this country is in need of a spiritual revival. Right? And I was thinking of this beautiful thing here. Pastor, thanks again for letting us. I've been here multiple times. It's always great to come to the Cowboy Church. The first time I came, I was astounded. Okay, but what a great place this church is, and I was greeting a lot of you, but I want you to know I was only listening to you with my left ear because these young people who were up here playing the Desert Wildflowers. Right in the right ear. They were fantastic. Beautiful. Well done. So let's just think about this for a second. I tell Cindy, we talk about this. You know, you're running for governor, and you're out there. You got to raise money, which is horrific. You're calling people that you barely know, and you say, "Can you write this massive check?" At least to me, it would be a massive check, and some of them do, and many of them don't, but some of them do. You know, and I tell her all the time, I feel like by doing that, we're trying to trust it. We're trusting in the arm of the flesh, and I don't want to trust in the arm of the flesh. I want to trust in the arm of God, and that's why it's so good to be here with the pastor tonight. We want to trust in the arm of God, and that's important. But at the same time, we know from reading the scriptures that there were lawmen, because there were bad people who would abuse believers, and so we have Sheriff Teeple here tonight. And we're trusting in him. So this whole thing, it works together in a beautiful synergy to carry us along. And it's a metaphor for what's happening in the United States of America today, is it not? We look around, and my friends across the aisle, their faces are literally melting. They're so upset that they're willing to go throw Molotov cocktails at cars owned by people who've never done them wrong at all. Boots, we're not going there. But I mean, I was at lunch today, meeting with some folks, and I get up and I'm walking out, and I hear from across the room, a lady says, "You should be ashamed of yourself." And I thought there was a problem with the food or something. Then I realized she's talking about me. And I'm thinking, you know, it's really kind of sad that we've reached this point where there's this division in our country. And that's why I say it needs to be healed. It really needs to be healed. Now, how am I going to say the things that I'd planned on saying? But here's the deal. When people are attacking our system because they don't like the guy, and they're doing it in ways that are so personal and vitriolic and meant to be harmful on a spiritual, emotional level, and sometimes even on a physical level, then we realize we have got to stand up fearlessly and step into the breach and help them knock it off. I'm calling it an intervention. We have got to provide the intervention. So when they go and they file 150 plus lawsuits to stop President Trump's agenda, and they're getting these injunctions from judges who are basically saying, we don't care what the law is, we're going to abuse the law, and we're going to stop this. We're going to stop this. That's madness. And we have got to stop it. And so this week, well, months ago, I introduced a piece of legislation. This week, we're doing a combination that several of us put together. And it says, look, you do not have the authority, Mr. or Mrs. or Ms. or Judge, however they're identifying. Judge, you don't have the jurisdiction to invoke a nationwide injunction. If Joe is suing Mary and vice versa, and they're in front of you, that's where your jurisdiction ends. That's where it ends. And it's a ban on nationwide injunctions. And we tried to get it through last week, but we had a little proxy voting issue. And so it got stopped. But it's going to come back. I talked to the speaker this morning. It's going to come back Monday. And we're going to try it. And if we have the same problem, it's going to come back Tuesday. If we have the same problem, it's going to come back Wednesday until we get it right. That's what needs to happen. And the SAVE Act is in there too, and there'll be some other stuff that are going to go along with it. Now, I thought I would just tell you one or two other things about what's going on in D.C., then I'll talk specifically about Arizona. So you might have heard President Trump has referred to this word as the second best word to love. Tariffs. He said that about a lot of words, but he said it specifically about tariffs too. And so the tariff issue is really interesting because what you're seeing is Wall Street, the institutionally, they're rebelling against something brand new, which is not new, it's old, right? But they don't like it, so that's why it's gone down. You've seen the market go down. But I'm going to give you some information that you probably have, because I'm looking around a bunch of smart people here, but I thought I would just share it. What has happened in the last couple months since President Trump has gone in? First of all, consumer confidence is through the roof. That means that the future looks bright because people believe in the future, and they believe in the economy, and they believe in themselves, and they believe in our country. That is through the roof. But somehow the institutionalists over here, they're not seeing that. Then you have this other thing that's happened is the jobs that have been created, full-time jobs, not part-time jobs, full-time jobs. This month was about 130,000 more. Last month was 130,000 more than they thought were going to be created. And I'm going to tell you that they're not even counting all the jobs. You know how we know that? Because the Census Bureau also reports on jobs. And the actual difference between the jobs in February and the jobs at the end of March was 448,000. Think about what that means for our brothers and sisters who are getting out there, they're getting jobs. And the number is higher than it was, I shouldn't say higher, it's just about where it was pre-COVID now, of people back to work. And as you start moving in that direction, the economy is going to grow and it's going to be strong, and that will be a blessing to this country and this nation, to our friends. So it's nothing to be... Thank you, Gina. These are the things that I get excited about. Now, there's a lot of things that I get excited about, too, on the other side, but this is really good news. And you don't hear it. You're not hearing it. And that's a crying shame, because what the media can do better than anybody else is they can spike. They can prevent information from getting out in a concerted way. And that's an abuse of their power, in my opinion. So there's a lot of positive things going on there, and I am bullish on America. Okay, I thought I'm going to give you one more. This is important too, because one of these is an issue, and I'm going to segue into Arizona on this issue. So you've been watching the border come under control. So last month, an average of 230 encounters a day, land and sea. Now, what that tells you is you are... there are times that I've been down on the border, literally standing there, and there's been more than 230 people who come and ask me what's going on, and I don't speak Spanish very well. I understand what they're saying, and I just tell them, just keep going. Just keep going. You're going to be fine. Because here comes the CBP guys. They're just go this way and wait. Just wait. But here's the deal. I've literally stood there with hundreds and hundreds, and it's me, and there was a county supervisor from Yuma County, and one Border Patrol agent. Just us. And literally 300 to 400 people standing there, and you don't know what their intentions are, but that's what it was under Joe Biden. Today, the encounters are 230. That is the safest, most secure border we've seen probably since we've been recording data. But we do have a problem yet. And we've got to get this under control, and Sheriff knows this because these folks are coming through the Vehicle Valley. They're coming through still, and these are the traffickers. These are the human and drug traffickers. And they're coming through. We have the biggest holes in the country. We've got 62 linear miles down in one area. Then you move over to Cochise County, and that's pretty wide open too. But if they're coming up through that 62-mile stretch, they're coming right up through your territory, your county, and they're trafficking children and people and the baddest of the bad. They're coming on up. So Arizona has got to take care of that. And we have a governor, an attorney general, and the Secretary of State. There you go. Okay.
It's true, they know it.
Yeah, you do know it. But they would like us to be a sanctuary state. And they would not enforce the law. And we have got to enforce the law. You cannot have freedom without faith, but you can't have freedom without law enforcement, because then the bullies and the criminal-minded will prey on everyone else and basically encroach on everybody else's rights, freedom, and liberty. And it will prevent us from fulfilling the measure of the creation that God made for each one of us. That's why we need you. You're doing it. He's doing a great job here. But we need to make a change at the top of the state. We have to. And so that's one thing to keep in mind. The other thing is Warren was talking about this special elections law bill that you guys came in, that you guys did this year earlier, and the our current governor said, we're not going to do that. We're not going to get election returns in a day. We're not going to do anything that's going to make people have their trust restored in our elections. We're going to veto that bill. That's what she did. She vetoed the bill. So here's what we're going to do if that, and so you're sending it to the ballot. But I want to tell you, I have a little bit of experience in the state legislature, a little bit of experience working with governors, a little bit of experience working with a cabinet of a president, a little bit of experience working with a bad president, and then so a lot of experience working with a good president. But what's going to happen here is we're not going to have our victory celebration. What we're going to do is that the day after, when the Senate and the House go up and they meet so they can elect your speaker and your president, we're going to get you to do that in the morning and wrap it up, so that evening, the governor, moi, I'm going to meet with the new speaker, the new president, and we're going to get everything in order so that you're going to see pre-filed bills. The stuff like this election law bill. You can't, by the way, you can't pre-file bills in Congress, which is crazy. I didn't know that till I got there. I had this big stack of bills. Go see the Ledge Council. Hey, they want to file these things. They say, you can't do that till opening, till after we've formally opened. But you can do that here. And we'll make sure everything's pre-filed so that first week we're going to scream through, and we're going to do things like get that election bill done right away. Boom, change. Away we go. That's what needs to happen. We're going to protect education. This particular governor, for whatever reason, doesn't like education. I got a few ideas why. But educational choice is a benefit for every demographic. Everyone, every kid. And we have got to protect that choice. And when we protect the choice, we have a chance to actually move Arizona up in the education. Every kid should have the opportunity to excel in education. And their parents need to guide them. And it's weird to me that in Arizona we have 7 of the top 10 ranked high schools in the country, and yet we still have other places where the NAEP scores for reading and math are just falling off the edge. That can't be. We have to give everyone that opportunity to get the best education they can. And because what is education? It is the great equalizer. It provides a great opportunity to get equal jobs, opportunities that are going to come. That's why education is so doggone important. So we've got to do that, but then we also have to do something else. Is we're going to secure the border from our side. We're going to get the sheriffs involved. We're going to get this all put back together because it's kind of still, it's coming together now, I think, but it was discombobulated before. But we're going to make sure that our cities and towns, if we've got a city that is saying we're not going to prosecute, or a county that's not going to prosecute cases, well, I'm going to work with the new AG, and we're going to make sure that gets cleaned up. And we're going to prosecute people. We want our cities and streets to be safe. We don't want to turn into Portland. Anywhere?
Exactly.
Yeah. You don't want to. You don't want to be. You want to be able to walk the streets of your neighborhoods and go out to eat and not worry about any of this craziness that happens. You don't want. And we're going to prosecute. So what I've done at the federal level is I've asked the FBI, met with Kash Patel, and we sat down. What a great thing to have him as the FBI director. I mean, the guy is so intense, you know. And so we go to dinner, and it's like, hey, Andy, you want that chip? You take it. But we talk about it. I said, Kash, this stuff with the Teslas has got to stop. It's a violation of the domestic terrorism statute, Kash. And he says, it is. He says, I just need a predicate. And I said, how about we write a letter? That would be a predicate. So we write a letter. He gets it. So opens up, and he creates the Domestic Terrorism Task Force. And they're going after, and they've made arrests already of some of these yo-yos. So it's a fun thing. It's a fun thing. And then I'm going to share one last thing with you, and then I think then I'd love to take questions. All of us take questions. But so we had a bit of a problem with the previous administration, their Department of Education. You probably didn't know that, yeah. And they were going after Christian universities and colleges, and they were trying to shut them down. And so they would find a technical violation, and then they would fine them massive amounts of money. And so we were writing letters, as you do. I mean, this is what Congress does. We write a lot of letters. Hey, please stop doing that. And they don't answer back in that thing. So we issue a subpoena, and under the Biden administration, they don't come. And so we refer them for contempt, and then it was a Merrick Garland, and he wouldn't prosecute. So what happened, though, is I had an opportunity to talk to Linda McMahon. Actually, several opportunities. And I said, your Office of Enforcement is going after these Christian colleges. And she said, well, let's see if we can take care of it. Followed up with letters, a series of letters. And I'm pleased to say, I don't think I'm supposed to announce this yet, but anyway, I'm pleased to say, I won't be too particular about this, that they have withdrawn the fines that were there under the previous administration. And that is so important because it shows the shift and the change. Oh, one more. I got to tell you one more. So Warren and I go down there, and we're in D.C., and we meet with Lee Zeldin, who's the administrator for EPA, and we happen to be there presenting our stuff. We're concerned about X, Y, and Z, and the other thing. And he says, why don't you guys hang around afterwards? And I said, I can't. Warren said he could. He says, I'm going to do a press conference. And so Warren goes in there in the press conference, and what does Lee Zeldin do? He issues the most sweeping deregulation in the history of this country. 31 major rules. We're not going to do that anymore. We're not going to do that anymore. We're not going to do that anymore. And since it happened right after we met with him, we're taking credit for it. He said, it's NACS, GOS, powered, all that stuff. Yeah, and so he did say we could take credit for it, but the bottom line is this is what you're seeing. And as we see deregulation happen at the federal level, believe me, it needs to happen at the state level. And we need it, and what happens is when you do that, companies want to come in. And when companies want to come in, it creates more jobs, more opportunities for everybody here. Now, I told you the last thing. Okay, I really mean it this time. So when they come in, and I have an opportunity, and I think Warren does, Gina probably does too, get to meet with some of those folks. And I always say to them, we're great. We're glad to have you here, moving here like you did from California. It's great. It's great you're here. The infrastructure is newer, right? You can afford houses here. You feel safer here. You feel like you can get better education for your kids here. I'm begging you, don't vote to turn us into California. Don't do it. So, this is a great state. Thank you so much for all of you doing. Thanks for letting us be here with you tonight.
All right, we got a couple of questions. I got special questions. Speed round, really quick. Very speed round. And I don't want to hear any laughing because it was my favorite question that Chris Lopez and I got at the chamber. Because we have to have a little bit of fun at these things, am I right? And if anybody knows me, they know I have two emotions, anger and happiness. So he can attest to that because he killed what he. So happy question. If you were an emoji talking about your current position, which emoji would you be? Congressman Biggs.
You know that little round face yellow thing? And the eyes are real big?
That was him.
And the teeth
Mine-
are like, yeah, and the teeth are like this.
That'd be kind of what I'd be.
All right, my lady.
Okay. I've thought about this because I use emojis all the time because they suit my personality, and it diffuses me when I'm like, boom, 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 smiley, flag, heart. I would be, I don't think it exists, but a red, white, and blue unicorn, but that gets mad and then like breathes fire at people like Charizard from Pokemon.
That doesn't exist. I mean,
Because I love America.
We're going to come back to
I
that's
don't-
not I'm not going to accept that question. Thank you.
Someone
a
make it.
meme. That's a
President-
meme.
Who's a designer?
No, we're going to go back and think
Who's a
about that. We're going to go back and you better pull out your phone and look at them. Senator Peterson.
Yes, so when you're the Senate president, you're not in the executive branch, right? So you can't, in my business, when people are bad, I just fire them, right? But at the legislature, you can't fire anybody. So what do you do when you have 90 people with different interests and they're all, sometimes at this point, they're literally wringing each other's neck because we're near the end of the session, bills are dying, and, so right now, my emoji is that guy with those eyes like, what is it, where he's like, oh. That's the emoji of this week, so.
My emoji, just for FYI, is that angry red face with the black thing over the mouth with the expletives. And then Chris is the mind blown. Okay, we are in a house of worship. Okay? And this is the two questions. I have one question after this. Oh, wait, we got to come back to your emoji really quick.
I mean, I don't want you to think I don't love being the chair. But the emoji that fits being a state party chair is the guy that's all beat up and like the little face that's like sick and beat up and like, wah, wah, wah. Like that's what it's like to be the chair. Because I just say no to people like 90% of the time. And yeah, so, but in my heart, I'm a red, white, and blue unicorn.
So, second question, speed round. We are in the house of worship, okay? In 30 words or less, because we're politicians and they can't do anything under 30 words. 30 words or less. Talk about the connection between government and God. And, take that question? Okay. We're going to go with Milady first.
Yes. Well, thank you.
30 words or
So-
less.
She knows me so well. That doesn't count.
That's 7 words.
All our rights come from God. We give up our rights to government to secure them. Without God, we have nothing.
That's a good place. Senator, and I say Senator Peterson with all due respect because when he just got off the phone with Lee Zeldin, I get a text from him that says, I just killed your bill, but I think we should put something on the gas tax about your bill. And I was mad and said, thank you for killing my bill. That's a no. And then he went to someone else. But that's just who I am. Senator Peterson, do you want to talk about that same question? Do you need it to be repeated or you got it?
It's said perfectly in the Declaration. Governments are instituted to protect our God-given inalienable rights.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay. Congressman?
I talked about this a little bit during my speech. The reality is, this country doesn't exist without the hand of God. Our individual rights and freedoms are endowed by God and must be protected by man under the wisdom, guidance, and faith in God. God's not done with this country. I believe he's got a vision for this country. He just calls you and me to fulfill that vision and that purpose.
Last question. This is the last question, and then we're going to give them a gift. Last question. This is a very unique stage because he could be governor of the state of Arizona. She could be Secretary of State of the state of Arizona. He could be the AG of the state of Arizona. I and Chris Lopez are at the state legislature in Arizona. That means we would all technically be working together. Now, keep that in mind for the question. Okay? This is going to be a little different, as you know that I am a little different. We went with, did we go with you first? Okay, so now you're first. If she's the Secretary of State, and if he is the governor of Arizona, and Chris and I are in the legislature, what do you tell us to do? And remember my temper. So what, oh, and he had a helping dose of it last week, let me tell you. What do you tell us? What do you tell each of us to do as AG?
Well, I'm not going to tell you to do anything. What's great is that what I'm going to do is I'm going to defend the Constitution. I'm going to eradicate human trafficking from our state.
You wouldn't ask us to create a bill for that?
Well, if I need your help, I will ask for your help. I'm not going to tell you. If I want to live another day, I'm not going to tell Representative Martinez to do anything. So I'm a middle child. So I
negotiate.
I build consensus. Yeah, I mean, this week I had literally 2 legislators that wanted to kill each other, but I was able to get them to both reach a deal. So as far as legislators, I would just now I may come to you and say this law is flawed. Can you help me fix it? But my focus is going to be really, quite frankly, AG was never on my radar. Never. But you don't appreciate the AG's office until you have one that is utterly not doing their job. But
you
anyway,
still haven't told us what you're going to tell the Secretary of State and the governor.
they're going to do, I mean, what do you need to tell Gina Swoboda? I mean, Andy Biggs is going to absolutely crush it as a governor. Okay, I trust him with my life. Gina Swoboda, I hired to help us with our elections because she knows Title 16 more than anybody else I know. So I would see it all as collaboration, not as here's what you are going to do. I may ask him how I can help him, how I can assist him. But these 2 folks, I mean, this is how I run my business. I hire the brightest and the best and most competent. And then I say, go do it. And I trust them. I never mandate. And when they let me down, I give them a lot of rope to let them hang themselves. And when they hang themselves, they're fired. But until then, that's how I handle things.
All right, well, still going to stick with this question. I'll have to reframe it a little bit. So, as Secretary of State, you would be sitting next to the Attorney General, you'd be sitting next to the governor, and then you'd be sitting next to 2 legislators. What do you say to each of us?
So I have my draft EPM ready already. That's the Elections Procedures Manual, which has the force of law, which they keep using to hurt us and our recorders. And the procedures manual is drafted by the secretary, and it has to be approved by the attorney general and the governor. And one of the mistakes that the secretaries have made in the past is they don't bring the recorders in who you elect, because counties run elections. The state doesn't get to run the election. You run the election. You empower your person to run the election. So I have to sit with your recorders, get their feedback, and then I have to go to the legislature and say, I have these 22 statutes in Title 16 that have not kept up with where we are and the way we're doing things. Can you help me close the holes? What do you think? And then you will ask your people if they agree, and then your recorder and your representatives and your senator will come and give the feedback, and then I will draft it and send it to the AG and the governor and say, please help me secure our elections and make them more transparent, because that's the only way we're going to keep voting.
Now, before I let Congressman Biggs answer this question, this is what I am going to say, and Chris and I am going to speak for little brother, he and I. What we would say to the Attorney General is defend the laws we send you.
Done.
What we would say to the elections, tell us what we need to do to close up all the loopholes, and then we will write them, right? And what I would say to the governor is sign my bills. Now, Congressman Biggs, if we'll say Governor Biggs, what would you say to Attorney General Peterson and Secretary of State Gina Swoboda, and then the two little legislators here in Pinal County? What kind of commands do you give to us? And then I have a gift.
Yeah, so commands is the wrong word to use in my mind.
Requests?
Yeah, there would be solicitations, requests, beseechings sometimes, that type of thing. So I think when we're talking the AG, we're going to talk about securing the border, defending our laws, prosecuting bad guys and bad women. We'll be talking about things like where do we have a county or a city that is willfully violating our laws and to the detriment of their own citizenry. We need to know that, and we're going to collaborate on that. And with Gina, we're going to say, I'm going to say, what is it you're needing to get this thing done? Because election integrity is also one of the most bedrock foundational parts of a constitutional republic. And so I'm going to expect her to lead that and get that cleaned up. So we're going to talk about that. But here's the thing, Teresa, and this is important. Right now we're talking about communication, and I'm not sure if you amongst our three folks up there now, they hate each other.
Oh, yeah,
They don't like each other. They don't communicate. Yeah, right. So,
You know what? When that story came out in the Washington Post about the 218,000 voters, they said that the three of them have not spoken to each other since they were inaugurated until that.
yeah. So communication's the key, and for working with the legislature, I'm going to have a great liaison, but I'm going to talk to members of the legislature, right? I mean, I don't want to go down there and take over the legislature. I don't want to go down there. I did my time there, okay? I don't want to go down there and say, hey, Chris, man, I need you. If we're going to have a talk, I hope that the legislators will say, we really want to talk. I want the Senate president, I want the speaker to talk. But the bottom line is, I'm going to be a little bit different kind of governor, because my pledge, I've already talked to my team, is when I become governor, a lot of governors just start focusing on Maricopa County. They start hermitizing. They start sitting right there, and they just, I can't leave Maricopa County. This is a great state. I like to go all over the state, and I'm going to be out 2 weekends a month going all over the state. I may be in Navajo. I may be down in Graham or in Yuma. But the bottom line is, this stuff doesn't happen. The good stuff doesn't happen by coercion. Occasionally you have to leverage just a little bit. But mostly it happens through collaboration. And that's really what we're going to do. And I can't guarantee that I'm going to sign all your bills, Teresa. I can't do that.
Well, right now, currently my bills are sitting in the Senate, and Senate President Peterson said, I'd like to say one more thing. And so we are going to let him, because my bills are going to be caucused. Senator Peterson.
You remember when I said possession is 9/10 of the law? You will be amazed what will happen if you have a Governor Biggs, an A.G. Peterson, and a Swoboda Secretary of State. And I'll tell you why. I have so many people that come to me, and legislators are horrible at this, okay? Legislators act like they're police officers.
Tread lightly, Senator.
Legislators, I'll speak about myself, okay? Some legislators are awful. They act like they're police officers. They act like they're lawyers. They act like they're the governor. They act like they're the AG. They act like they're the Secretary of State. And so often I have people come to me or call me or come into my office. And they say, this is going wrong. This is happening. This. And I say, okay, well, I'm a lawmaker. That's what I am. I'm a lawmaker. And that is already against the law. So here's what will happen. Election integrity, as AG, we will have election integrity in Arizona. You know why? Because the recorders will fear me if there is fraud. I assure you, they will fear me. And it goes like this. What would you rather have? Would you rather have somebody prosecute after the crime is committed? Or do you want prevention? What did we see at the border? Did we need a border security law? No, it turns out we just needed a new president. Do we need election integrity laws? I'm not. You know what? I honestly believe with these three folks alone, I'll tell you just one thing alone that I will do as Attorney General. This is one thing. I'm going to send a letter out to all the recorders just before the election, and I'm going to remind them that I enforce Title 16. And I'm going to tell them, make sure you keep all of your records. What do you think that means? And I'm going to tell them, especially make sure you have your cast vote record ready to look at. What do you think is going to happen? Okay. Prevention is the best policy. We'll have it.
I told you he and I are tenacious. Now, this is my church, and Pastor Tim Pruitt over there, who's probably the best pastor ever, is always encouraging us. To take our card out and invite everyone we know to come to church with us. And so I would like to, and give out the Bibles. So each of you get a Bible.
We already took one.
I don't care. You're going to take one again.
Isn't she great? You know why the legislature's alive?
And I'm going to personally invite you to come on Sunday of your choice and attend both services. I think we have about 700 people attending between the two services, and you will count as my guests so that I can make my pastor happy. With that, what they need for you to do is sign their petitions and donate online. And with that, thank you. And follow us on social media. Speaking of social media, we're going to take a real quick selfie, and then we're done, and then you can attack them and talk to them about all the questions. So with that, everybody scooch in, and then we're going to go ahead and take a selfie.